Hi learners, we have finished many modules in research ethics which dealt with so many issues related to academic or research ethics, and today we will be listening to a lecture on misconduct in academic as well as research. The content is prepared by Dr. Manorama Tripathi from the Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and video will be presented by Dr. Ankita Shah, who got PhD in genetics. So the content will basically cover the various kind of misconducts in research and academic sector, as well as some of the important policies which nations follow and the policy which is adopted in the few other countries to deal with it. So the video presenter is Dr. Ankita Shah from Gujarat University.
Hi learners, welcome to the course on research ethics. Today I will be discussing module on academic misconduct. This module has been prepared by Dr. Manorama Tripathi from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Myself, Dr. Ankita Shah, will be presenting the video content. This module has been divided into 3 parts, which we will be learning one after another. At the end of this module, you will be able to understand the concept of misconduct in education and research, the different instances of misconduct, and rules, guidelines and regulations for researchers, authors and reviewers. The specific learning objectives of this module are to study the use of anti-plagiarism software, to know the detrimental effect of misconduct in education and research, to understand the meaning of retraction, to find out the reasons behind misconduct in education and research, and how misconduct may be stemmed in education and research. So friends, let's get started with the first part of the module on misconduct in academics and research. Introduction. As we all know, honesty is the basic principle in academics and research universally. Education and research ushers in innovation and extends the boundaries of theoretical and technical knowledge. The universities and higher educational institutions are required to conduct themselves by embracing this principle and generate new knowledge. They exist to undertake education and research to address the daunting challenges of food, potable water, shelter, health, and conservation of the earth. They are also entrusted with the responsibility of training young minds and ensuring their employability. These goals have to be achieved without compromising on the basic tenet of honesty. If there is any laxity in the rigorous methodologies, protocols, or procedures which are followed in education and research, it would be catastrophic for all the stakeholders. Moving ahead, let's discuss FFP. F stands for fabrication, F for falsification, and P for plagiarism. Fabrication means fabricating the data. Falsification means generating some false data. And plagiarism means knowingly or unknowingly, intentionally or unintentionally stealing someone's data without citing the author. So, FFP means lack of proper data management activities, lack of care towards human participants in research, inappropriate attribution and authorship, poor editorial and publication practices. So, let's now understand what are the different instances of misconduct. Misconduct in research or academics occur when students or researcher do not undertake their work in an honest manner. It implies when they either fabricate or falsify data or plagiarize somebody else's work and try to pass it off as their own. There are other malpractices which are also considered as unethical in education and research. One such is manipulating of authorship. When we write the names of colleagues or friends who have not contributed to the research work, or when we miss the names of the people who have done considerable work in the research which is being reported. This behavior is known as gift or ghost authorship and is shown for mutual benefit or admiration. The second one on the list is publishing in predatory journals. Predatory journals are excessively broad in scope and combine two or more fields which are not usually treated together. They ask the new authors and researchers to submit their manuscripts for publication. These journals do not undertake any peer review procedures, though peer review is the main pivot of scholarly communication. The predatory journals publish manuscripts from a wide range of subjects. Once the authors submit their manuscripts, the predatory journals ask them to pay publication charges. In the prevailing circumstances, the number of publications is very important. So, the researchers resort to publishing in predatory journals, and in return, the predatory journals thrive in such a milieu. These are not covered in the leading indexing, abstracting and citation databases. These are not covered in the leading indexing, abstracting and citation databases. These make use of logos and images of well-known and recognized research institutions. The third one is adding inflated bibliography to theses and dissertations. When the researchers tend to add more references than they have referred to in their bibliographies of theses and dissertations, it tantamount to misconduct. The researchers do this to project that they have built their work after referring to so many scholarly works, though they may not have consulted all of them. The fourth one is manipulation of images. The use of images to present and substantiate one's data and findings is essential in science research. The manipulation of images is also a kind of misconduct. There are different categories of image manipulations like simple duplication of images which have the same panels, duplication of images with repositioning and duplication of images with an alteration. In India, University Grants Commission, that is UGC, has issued an extraordinary notification last year in July to promote academic integrity and prevent plagiarism in higher educational institutions into 4 distinct levels. Level 1 is 0 to 10%, that is negligible. Level 2 is 10 to 40%. Level 3 is 40 to 60%. And level 4 is 60% and above. UGC regulation has prescribed graded punishment for faculty members and research scholars who are caught in the acts of plagiarism. As per the UGC regulations, the universities need to have bodies and committees in place to handle allegations of research misconduct, infractions in education training in a fair, unbiased and transparent manner. Further, the universities and institutions need to maintain open access online repositories of research done in their department and laboratories. The drafts of theses and dissertations should be scanned through anti-plagiarism software before they are submitted for evaluation for the award of a degree. The UK Research Integrity Office, abbreviated as UCRIO, is a registered charity organization which provides guidance on acceptable research practices, how to handle allegations of misconduct in research and publication. It also conducts education and training sessions and maintains a blog on its website. The Singapore Statement on Research Integrity underlines the concepts of honesty, accountability, professional courtesy, fairness, and good stewardship in all research activities. The researchers should ensure that the benefits of the research results outweigh the risks involved in undertaking the research, as mentioned at World Conferences on Research Integrity 2010. Committee on Publication Ethics, abbreviated as COP, has more than 8,000 plus journal editors as its members. It has formulated ethics policies which must be followed by its members. The policies guide editors and reviewers on how to handle instances of misconduct in published articles and set the written record of scientific literature right when the misconduct is proved to have occurred, as per COP 2019. The open access, abbreviated as OA, has gained stupendous momentum, and the governments worldwide are taking concerted efforts to put research in the public domain for everyone to access and use. So, any commission of misconduct is highly likely to get detected, caught, and penalized. In India, Shodh Ganga, maintained by Inflibnet, provides access to the full text of 245,000 plus theses submitted to Indian universities. So, dear learners, in the first part, we have learned different aspects of academic and research misconduct along with its different instances. We have also discussed certain policies to curb the misconduct in academic and research. Stay tuned for the second part. Thank you.